Peace, peace. Greetings to you all. Naheem, a.k.a. Sheik Way L, a.k.a. Lord Abba, a.k.a. Mr. Just the Facts. I don't know how good y'all can see me. It's getting off of work. I was thinking about all of the coverage that George H.W. Herbert Walker Bush was getting for his funeral and how he's honored by the establishment politicians, honored with a certain type of dignity. And, we grew up in the 80s and the 90s, so we don't know that George Bush. We know the George Bush that got a little girl, 14-year-old girl, to stand up in Congress and lie about Iraqis going into Kuwait, removing babies from incubators and leaving them to die on the floor, which was proven to be absolutely false. That's the George Bush we know. The George Bush that we know is the one that got up there and pushed so many lies so that America could invade Iraq and eventually steal its oil, which is what his son did by creating the lie about WMDs, weapons of mass destruction, to which they trotted Colin Powell out, and even the then director of the FBI, Robert Mueller, who's in charge of the Trump investigation as the special counsel, got up and lied. So, these guys, their integrity is shot, in my opinion. Put no faith in these guys. To me, it's like putting your faith in the devil. I just have to be honest with you. And the demons will honor their demons. They'll honor their own. We know George H.W. Bush as the guy that put crack cocaine into our neighborhoods and then declared a war on drugs, literally created zombies out of our people. This is the George Herbert Walker Bush that we know. We know this George Bush for his shadow government and his use of the CIA as it's his own covert, shadow army that was used to create a nexus between drug dealers in, let's just say, Los Angeles, like Freeway Ricky Ross, and certain drug lords in South America, which helped create the boom in cocaine, which led to our crack cocaine explosion, which led to what I call the zombie apocalypse of the 80s, which led to the highest incarceration rates that this country had ever known, a rate that continues on until this day. That era is what caused the boom in high incarceration rates for particularly our people. This is the George W. Bush that we know, and so we do not honor that George W. Bush, H.W. Bush, excuse me. When I look at all of the different media outlets, when I look at all of the politicians who honor this man, what we're looking at is this established group, this, you almost want to, well, you can call them a regime of establishment politicians, Democrat and Republican, who are in bed with the military contractors. Man, they probably helped create some of these military contracting agencies. And they love war. They love the prison industrial complex. They love the fact that these prisoners make the license plates and they have fisheries and do all of the different things, make fans, house fans, the box fans. A lot of the stuff you see, leather belts, etc., are made in prison. So when it says made in the USA, there's a great chance that it was made by prison labor, which is why they want to keep the population rates high. And in certain places, they'll put money into private prisons and not into education, not into the schools. We have the power as a people now to begin to break this cycle. If I was a politician, I wouldn't honor George H.W. Bush. And they would call me all types of radicals and etc. But they won't speak about this war criminal in that way. They would want me to denounce Farrakhan while they uphold and honor George Herbert Walker Bush, who dropped bombs in Iraq. One such instance was a shelter where they had 400 children there. And this demon gave the go-ahead to drop bombs on this particular shelter. 400 children plus staff wiped out, gone. We don't honor these people. The Declaration of Independence speaks about whenever any form of government becomes destructive of its own means, it is time for that government to become altered or abolished. This is the will of the people. This is the will of the people. And when I assess how people like George Herbert Walker Bush, Bush 41 as he's called, is honored, I believe that's Bush 41, is honored, then it makes me feel like a majority of our people are hopeless and voiceless. And no matter what, we will never have a seat at the table. When the whole crack funneling into our neighborhoods was happening by the CIA, and the community out in Los Angeles were in an uproar. I mean, what was Bush saying? He sent a bunch of puppets to Los Angeles who couldn't answer straight questions. The CIA was deeply involved. This is no conspiracy theory. Freeway Ricky Ross is still alive telling his story. This just lets us know that it's our time now to get into government. It's our time. We don't need to funnel money into creating a prison industrial complex to line the pockets of big corporations and big business. Instead, we invest that money in developing the talent within our citizenry so that we could again become the leaders of sciences and producers of great technologies that the world can't live without. Instead, other countries are surpassing us. Japan and China have these large railways, magnetic railways that just are ahead of its time, basically, or right in line with the times, while we still have these old, lethargic subways like in New York City. And it's outdated, just outdated. These subways were built the turn of the century, and we're still running the same type of train and rail system, while they have trains that are floating on magnets, moving at terrific speeds, safely. We're not doing any of that because corporations in the United States of America, whether it's pharmaceutical companies or oil companies, they want to keep turning billion-dollar profits, paying their CEOs and their CFOs and their top executives very large bonuses. Like, we have the power now. We have the power now because we have the knowledge on what to do. We have our rappers waking up. And once we put this thing together and we stop using our platforms to be mere entertainers, and we start using our platforms to awaken the people, then we will start to put things in place, because the education of the people is vital to the awakening of the people. And once the people become awakened to the political power that we have via our citizenry, via the 10th Amendment, then we can start to come together and put together a 30 to 40 million person voting bloc and start making change for our people. This is what I think about when I think about George H.W. Bush. We don't honor that man, and we don't honor his son, and we don't honor any of those politicians who were like him, any one of that ilk. He lived 16 years longer than the average person in America. You know why? Because a report that just came out, I forget which major newspaper published this report. It said that rich people have a longer lifespan than poor people. They have access to better health care. I mean, really, they can pay for whatever they need. While you just die. You have cancer, oh well, die, go die. While the rich person, they could prolong their lives as long as they can. So, I mean, it's up to us to change it. We have to have a strong media going forward. Without having a strong media going forward, then, you know, we're just YouTubers at the end of the day. We're not doing anything. That's why I watch media platforms like the Young Turks, who is an online platform, and yet they have the largest media platform on YouTube, period. They probably have more subscribers than CNN and MSNBC combined. Fox News has a larger audience, so I wouldn't put them in a combination. But the Young Turks probably have an audience larger than MSNBC and CNN combined, while we're just content with YouTubing, so we can get our little AdSense checks every month and brag about doing absolutely nothing. And so with that, I want to end this particular broadcast. That was on my mind for the past few days. The demons that honor their own. They honor their own. We don't honor them. We live in a totally different America. And it is now incumbent upon us to take our place in the affairs of men. Because, as a wise saying says, if you're not at the table, you're on the menu. With that, say peace.